You're listening to the Footy First podcast on TSN 1050. Champions live here.
Welcome inside Footy First here on a beautiful Saturday in the GTA. Nick McVicker rocking it alongside York United keeper Niko Giantsopoulos. Niko, how you doing this weekend, brother?
I'm doing great. Yeah, it's been a good week. I don't know if we should shout it out now, but everyone that's been supporting us online on our socials, Instagram and all that, we've been getting a lot of feedback, a lot of love back, and yeah, I'm excited for the show to add on to that, you know?
Absolutely. I agree. I think we should shout that out every chance we get.
Yeah. No, though it's been almost an overwhelming amount of support we've had early on, so shout out to everyone that's been following the page and following the show. More things
it's taken too long for us to get our own social media account, and I'm glad we got it, and we're now able to reach out a little bit easier. So thank you for the support, everyone. We got a packed show for you today, and I usually don't like using that word.
Packed? You don't like using the word packed?
Packed show, because that it oversells it. But very rarely do we have as many great voices on a single show. Mm-hmm. And I want to start with the one in studio, our big special guest host for the day, former York, former Cavalry player, and now rocking it in the studio with us, Oliver Minatel. How's it going, man?
Hey, how are you? Good morning. It's a pleasure to be here with you guys. Congrats on the setup. Looks amazing.
Yeah, that's the best part about bringing people into a studio, that they see like the lights, the thing. It's
yeah, for sure.
It looks more legit than we actually might be.
For sure. And I want to get into your whole career. You just announced your retirement, Oliver. But before we get into that, usually we don't have a guest on the phone right away. But they're on a bit of a time crunch because, you know, they have a playoff game in a bit. So let's get them on the phone. We have former Cavalry player and former national team player and friend of the show. He's been on before, Nik Ledgerwood, as well as keeper coach for Cavalry, Jordan Santiago, joining us today. Guys, how's it going?
Good. Thanks for having us on the show. We're doing a little duo interview here in the hotel, so I appreciate you having us on.
We appreciate you guys taking the time today. I know it's a busy day, so let's get right into it. And Nick, I want to start with you. Last time we talked, we were talking about a little bit of the women's national team and how Cavs were kind of going about their business in the season. You split time with both this year. What was that experience like as your first year as a coach? And what did you kind of take from your time with the national team that you brought back to Cavs?
Yeah, it kind of came up unexpectedly midway through the season. I got a phone call asking if I'd want to be a part of the tech staff for the lead up to the World Cup for the women. And, you know, I jumped on the opportunity, especially knowing that this is my first year being into coaching. I wanted to get every perspective and experience that I could and kind of soak it in like a sponge. So it's been phenomenal. I just got back from their trip to Spain where they had two games, one against Argentina, one against Morocco. And, you know, the attention to details that Bev Priestman brings into camp is absolutely phenomenal. And there's definitely different parts of the training camp that I try to bring back and implement within our staff or within our team and share the ideas. I think it's important to get ideas from, you know, different sports, different teams, a different perspective, and see if it can fit in with our own DNA here with Cavalry.
How close did you get with the team, Ledge? Like with the players, I would say.
What do you mean by that?
Like, did you spend a decent amount of time? I mean, you've only done, 2 camps with them now, so you've gotten to know them a bit off the pitch as well. Would you say that?
Yeah. I mean, the first camp was probably a little more distant from the players. I think the second camp they started to warm up a little bit, knowing the idea of an ex-men's player is now transitioned over to the women's side and the coaching staff. So I think there was a little bit of ice that needs to be broken there. But, you know, I definitely feel like I'm there for the coaching staff. I'm not there to be friends with the players or, you know, that kind of aspect. So I'm there to help the staff and help where I can. I'm more on the analytical side of things. So I'm a little bit distant from the team anyways. So, yeah, I mean, as things ramp up and more camps get going, I'm sure there'll be that stronger bond between the player coach if I'm involved in more camps.
The reason why I kind of asked that is there any like good fun personalities on that team, on the squad, and maybe who's the good locker room person for that team?
Yeah, it's a very unique setting. Being a male within the Canadian women's team, you don't get a lot of, I guess, direct locker room type feelings like you would normally with the men's team, which is obvious because of the reasons. But there's some great personalities in the team. Just on the last camp, I could say, Jordan Heidema is a definite, very positive person in and around the field. Same with Shalina Zdorsky. Chappie was there as well. Very, very light and upbringing. Desiree Scott. There's some big personalities there that definitely help lift the team throughout a training camp.
Jordan, I want to bring you into the conversation now because you spent all 4 years that Cavs have been around as part of the coaching staff as a goalkeeping coach. You've had some incredible seasons with Marco and Niko here, as well as everyone else who's come through that system. What has been the most impressive thing that you've seen as the goalkeeping coach?
Yeah, I've been fortunate to have some good goalkeepers at Cavs that have come through, and even before that in the Foothills PDL season, they had Nathan Ingham come in for a little while. Tyson Farrago came in, who was with us this year and then left. But it's been nice. Unfortunately, Niko wanted to leave to go be York's number 1 instead of our number 2, and then it looked like he got dropped for the last 7 games of the year. But
I wanted to leave to be the TSN host on this show. Actually, that's actually why.
Well, that's why Ledge and I were actually just speaking before the show and didn't know if you were announcing your retirement with Ollie now after you got dropped for the last 7 games.
I gotta wait till the finals, after the finals.
You think you're going to get to the finals?
Not me. I'm saying after Forge makes it to the finals.
Oh, okay.
And I'll announce it then.
No, you did. I think we heard you had 7 clean sheets this year, which is pretty good for being injured for the last 10 games.
33%. I don't know. I don't want to be the numbers guy here, but I might have had the highest clean sheet percentage in the league.
And passing.
Yeah, but if you have a better lifestyle off the pitch, you don't get injured for the last 7-8 games of the year, and you could have had the Golden Glove.
Ooh, shots fired.
I actually think that's how I got injured. I was taking soccer a bit too seriously, and my body taught me a lesson. Hey, smarten up here. Start enjoying yourself a bit. So that's what I did the first 6 weeks off. I don't even know what the question was to you, Santi. You just kind of took it off the rails.
Yeah, I just went
off.
I go off track quite a bit.
I have no problem. I'm used to it. But I kind of want to tee you up here, Santi, and talk about, this is a Canada soccer show. You've had a very, very short time with the national team. Some people probably don't even know you spent time with the national team. But what was your experience like? Was it the U23s? I remember you were telling me a story that...
Yeah, U20s.
Yeah, U20s. And then you went to camp, and then they didn't want you back?
Guatemala. Sorry?
So basically you went to a camp, and then after that, your club team, was it Cardiff at the time? They didn't want you to go back to a national team camp?
No, it was... so I got called into the under-20s for the World Cup qualifying down in Guatemala. And... went down there. We were there for 2 weeks and came back. And at that time, the training wasn't as good as it was now. So you're missing games to not go play games, not train that much away. So we came back, and the best option for me at the time was to try to go on loan and get actual games and play. So after one camp, just like speaking to my goalie coach at the time, wasn't worth going back really for the next camp.
That's crazy. What was your transition into coaching? You and Ledge have now both transitioned from players to coaching, but what was your transition like?
Ledge's was more natural. He played for longer than I've been alive, and then he when his body couldn't work anymore, I'll go into coaching. Where I was on trial at a couple places over in England. And I was training at West Ham at the time, and the performance psychologist there and the first team goalkeeper coach said your personality's suited for coaching. And I know you're without a club right now. As you're looking for a club, do you want to come in and be the head of goalkeeping for the youth development phase at West Ham? And I sort of made that decision. Yeah, I'll do that, and then it just stuck. So that was 2013. I got into coaching, so it's been almost my 10-year anniversary now.
Oh, congratulations! Live on air.
Yeah,
how old were you when you retired?
22.
22, so you're 32 now. Quick math there.
Yeah, 31, 32 soon. It's almost my 10-year anniversary.
How
When's
can
your
you
birthday?
say you retire at the age of 22? You haven't even started yet.
How many years, Ledge, do you think you need to have in the full-time professional game to make it official that you retire? Because sometimes it's crazy. You have guys that have maybe practiced with a professional team maybe for 1 year, and then they stop playing, and then they make a post on Instagram announcing their retirement.
They play 2 games for York United, and then...
For me, you got to have, like, if you want to announce a retirement, it's got to be like a 10-year career, I think.
Yeah. At what level, though? Because there's so many levels now. I could have a 10-year. I could play 8 years in League One Ontario, and then 2 years in Cavs.
Professionally.
Okay.
And maybe I would start throwing like a League One in there now that it's grown to a place where, you know, teams are representing in the Can Champ. So yeah, I could throw that in there.
Fair enough.
You could get behind that.
I want to get your perspective, Nick, on, and now you've obviously just transitioned into coaching, not into something else, but the younger generation of coaches, maybe ex-players that are now transitioning, especially from that 2019 team. There's 2 names that jump to mind. It's Jay Wheeldon, obviously our center back at the time, and Mauro Estacia, who's the assistant coach here. I guess, what are your opinions on now players becoming coaches, and how good is that for the game?
I think it's exceptional for the game. I mean, to have people that have actually been there and done that, I've always been an advocate that it's easier to portray a message if you've been there and done that. In saying that, it's easier for me to talk to a player if I've actually been there. I've been on the field. I've done that. I've lived through playoffs. I've lived through the travel of the CPL. I'm sure my word resonates a little bit stronger with the player than somebody coming in who's actually never been there and never done that. In saying that, I think the coaches that haven't played or haven't been there and done that, they find a different way to motivate or to connect with players. And I think that's the specialty of coaches, is finding that way how you can connect with players and how you can manage players or get the best out of them.
Makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. And speaking of coaching, you guys kind of have a big match coming up this weekend. Obviously, the second leg of the semifinals in Hamilton against Forge, a place that Cavs in playoffs before haven't had as much success. What's kind of the mindset going into this game right now around the locker room, around the coaching staff? What's the messaging?
Yeah, it's actually very relaxed, to be fair. The last week, everybody's in a great mindset, and I think we've come to terms with, you know, we've ticked every box that we can. We've prepped for it. We've done our work behind the scenes, and you know, the players are fit and healthy and ready to give everything they got. So there's no real excuses. It's time for us to put everything that we practice into play now and get after it. So everybody's in really good spirits. Coaching staff's relaxed. Players are excited. And we're just happy that we're out of Calgary this weekend because they just dropped half a foot of snow.
Oh, yeah. If when the off-season comes, is there any chance you guys could still get a couple of rounds of golf in? Or is the weather in Calgary giving you no hope?
Every once in a while you'll get a couple dry days that, you know, maybe a Chinook rolls through, but Santi would love to get a couple days of golfing, but I'm sure he's going to be on some tour down in the U.S. golfing anyways.
Oh, must be nice, Santi.
Yeah, it must be like, you know what? I'm really looking forward to the playoff game. I know you probably played golf for the last 2 weeks, but we've been prepping over here. So I think that for me right now, at this point in the season and my coaching career, I'd rather be in this place than your place, that's for sure.
How much better has the banter in the coaching staff locker room gotten since Nashi left and you replaced him with Leon?
Oh, different banter, I would say. Different banter.
Like funnier
Nashi's a man of few words, but I love the guy.
Okay.
Leon's a man of many words, and I love the guy.
Yeah. You guys are probably running out of oxygen in that room with Tommy and Leon talking all the time.
We had to come to a different hotel actually for this call, so you couldn't hear Leon in the background.
Listen, if he jumped on, I wouldn't mind having Leon Scrappy Doo on the call as well. We got Oliver here in studio. You guys, well, Santi, you got to know him over 3 years at Cavs. Ledge, you got the pleasure of playing with him. He obviously announced his retirement this year, or at the end of this season. Any words you guys got for him? Or funny stories you might have of Ollie? He's been a bit quiet in this interview.
He's not the type of guy that's the funny guy, I would say.
No, and I knew Ollie a little bit before he joined the Cavs, and we played together. He played with Ottawa, so we had played against each other. But I've always had a lot of respect for Ollie and his career as being a true professional. He was definitely one of the few players, I think, in this league that brought absolute true professionalism to his job every day. And I tip my hat to that, because it's hard to find players like that nowadays. And unfortunately, with the injuries he's had, I think the ceiling in his career could have been a lot higher. But he's a smart enough person that I think he's aware of that, and he knows when to step away and when to move into something else in life. And I think that's exactly what he's doing. So, I've had great memories of Ollie. One of the best probably stories I heard.
It's 10 a.m.
Yeah. No, I wasn't there for the story, but it made global headlines. So I'm sure everybody knows about it. It's the story of your little experience on the plane, and that for me just tops it all. So if you want to go into details with that, I'll let you go into details, Ollie. But it's a story that's open publicly. So
we have an Oliver Minatel segment sectioned off in the show. So thank you for reminding me. I wrote it down in my notes now. I'm definitely going to tee him up there so he can speak on that. Ollie, a chance to say anything to Ledge or Santi? Or hey, they put you on blast there. Do you got any stories for them?
No, first of all, I just want to thank Ledge for the kind words. He was actually one of the best leaders that I've had the chance to share a locker room with. And hopefully now we can impact the football in Canada in a positive way like he's been doing. And Santi didn't have any kind words, so.
What's next for you, Ollie?
Let's see. I had the chance to prepare while I was playing, and hopefully I'll have some news soon.
Teaser there.
Little teaser, wow. Yeah. Well, gentlemen, we appreciate you taking the time this morning. I know you got a busy day ahead, as I said, so good luck this evening. Big match, Forge, Cavalry, and we'll see who makes the final. Hopefully, we'll be talking to you guys later in the season.
What's for breakfast? What's the pregame breakfast to get the boys ready to beat Forge?
We haven't seen the spread yet this morning, but I'm thinking there's like waffles, French toast, pancakes, fresh fruit in there. They probably got a smoothie machine going, and we got the lady doing the omelets in the back corner. So it's there's enough choice for the players.
Did Potsy get the avocados?
There's about 2 bags of just perfect avocados. It's unbelievable. So yeah, boys are ready to go.
That's what we like to hear. Well, guys, thank you again for joining us. We really do appreciate it.
Thanks a lot, guys. Thanks for having us.
That is Nik Ledgerwood and Jordan Santiago from Cavalry. We got to take a break here. On the other side, we're going to get into Oliver's retirement, his career, everything that goes along with that. All that and more right here on Footy First.
First up with Korolnik and Koliak. Now back to the Footy First podcast on TSN 1050. Champions live here.
Welcome back inside Footy First. Nick McVicker, Niko Giantsopoulos, and special guest host Oliver Minatel. And recently retired Oliver Minatel, I should say.
He's on vacation now, permanent vacation.
From what he was telling me before, it's not really a vacation when you're working.
What's he working on?
It's a strong word, actually, retirement. It seems like I'm heading to the Bahamas for 20 years now.
Normal, like big-time professional soccer player, they retire and they live in their house on the beach. That's not the case with you?
No, it's not the case. But I don't know if I would be able to do that. Like, we're pretty young, right? We still want to achieve some other goals. So, yeah, during my time playing, I got the chance to study. I have a business bachelor degree, and now I'm working on my MBA. I'm actually finishing, hopefully, the next day or two.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and that's what Nick was referring to, saying like how busy you are, the retirement. More work being retired, studying than it is a player.
Yeah, it's not easy because our lifestyle is good while we play. We can't complain, right? But there are also the positive aspects of being, let's use the word, retired.
Can you say what those are?
I enjoy a little more. I mean, I was very disciplined as a player, and I think it's really important, especially towards the end of my career, where the game now has become, it's insane, the intensity that you have to be at and take care of your body and everything that involves it. So, yeah, maybe have a glass of wine here and there and things like that.
Decent. How did this decision to retire come about? Was it a tough one, long? Take me through the process.
Yeah, well, as you guys know, in 2020, after that injury that I had, it was always going to be very difficult to come back at the level. I was 27, 28, something like that. And so the last 2 years were really, I gave everything that I had to try to come back. I obviously enjoyed playing, and I think the CPL is a fun league to play in. I like living in Canada. So, but I just couldn't anymore, and I had to listen to my body. And since I have this chance and I prepared for this moment, it's not easy, but it was the right thing to do, and I am actually excited for the future. I'm looking forward to it, and hopefully I'll achieve higher goals after football. I had a good career, I'd say, but I think I could have gone further, and hopefully now I want to keep involved in professional sports, and I'll have the chance to achieve those goals.
What is it about like the sport in Canada? Because your name is familiar to Canada soccer fans because you played at Ottawa before. Is there a reason why you played in Canada there, and the desire to come back to the CPL was there? What is it about the Canada infrastructure that you like about it?
No,
it was just coincidence.
I never thought about playing in Canada growing up.
To be honest, does anyone in Brazil?
But no, it all happened through Mark Dos Santos, the assistant coach for LAFC now. He came to Ottawa in 2014, and I was playing in Portugal at the formerly. So he just gave me a call. He knew me through another coach, and he showed me the project. It was NASL at the time, so we competed in most of the teams were based in the United States, other than Edmonton. And when I saw that, I was 21 at the time, and it seemed like a good opportunity to just like come for a change. I never thought that I would be here so long. I was more like, I'll go there for a year or two, and then maybe go back to Brazil or to Europe, the bigger football markets. Yeah. But well, things happened. I ended up staying. I think it's important to keep the doors open always, right? And I think that's what I did, especially as a foreigner. You always have to be playing well to be able to continue in this market in North America. And fortunately, it worked out well for me.
So was it at Ottawa, the story that Ledge kind of was speaking on in the previous segment there about the incident that happened on the plane? Do you want to take it from there? You were playing for Fury?
I was playing for Fury. We had a game in Atlanta, and it was a flight actually from Toronto to Atlanta. It was weird. When we were going through police, whatever, before the flight, there was this guy who kept looking at us, and he mentioned to other teammates that like we were like a gang or something, and no one really took him seriously. And we were 20 minutes away from Atlanta, and I was sleeping, and I felt something from behind. And
on the plane?
Yeah, it was just...
You're in the air?
In the air, yeah. It was just bad spot at a bad time. And then later on, what I was told is that he had mental issues and he just went crazy there.
Nick, did you know of this story at all?
No.
It made like you.
Yeah, you can Google it. It's probably the first thing that comes up.
That's what you're known for. Is the incident on the plane.
I did not know this.
It's when I first met Ollie. Within that first year, that story came up, and again, I get to know the guy Oliver, and sometimes these crazy things just always happen to him. Why always me?
What other great stories are there? That's one of them. And
that's the problem. It's 10 a.m. as Ollie referred to before.
Well, man, you had a lot of success at pretty much every club that you went to, and you come to Canada. What shocked you the most about the Canadian soccer market after arriving?
I think that the CPL fixed the main problem. You had a lot of quality, a lot of young, talented players, but they just didn't have the platform, right? So when I arrived in Ottawa, 2014, you had the three teams competing in the MLS. You had Ottawa and Edmonton, so 5 teams. And now we have 12 or 13 if you consider the League One teams who are trying, like almost semi-pro. So I think the growth that I've been seeing for the past 8 years is huge.
And how beneficial is so it must have a correlation to why our national team is doing better, or no?
For sure, it's the base, in my opinion. And you see the examples that we have now in this World Cup cycle. If you look at the players, some of them come from Foothills and Sigma, which is basically Cavalry and Forge. So I believe for the next World Cup, 2026, which is in Canada, you'll maybe have players that use the CPL to grow in the football market, right? Mm-hmm. And that's amazing. Even Joel might be going to the World Cup in next month.
Yeah. Well, he's like right now the poster boy for this pathway, because he's like, is he the only guy that's involved in this national team setup right now that's kind of gone through CPL? He's the only one. Right now,
correct? Yeah.
And then I think you have Alistair, who played.
He was in League One.
He was League One, but he kind of skipped the CPL level.
But he did the NCAA route, but then in the summertime he was playing League One to stay sharp. You still count him. Yeah, Alistair's
you count him as League One, but like if you're talking like the full pathway is club, League One, CPL, MLS, national.
Joel had the toughest route because Alistair, if I'm not mistaken, he went to Wake Forest, which is a top NCAA school in the States. And then I believe he got drafted by Nashville. Mm-hmm. And then, so that was his pathway. Joel played U Sports 5 years ago, now maybe 6-7 years ago, when it wasn't, as
when
big
it was
as
U
it is
Sports
now.
and just U Sports.
And then he was playing PDL with Foothills, then gets drafted. He comes through the CPL draft, gets drafted by Cavs, and then eventually gets the move to Montreal, and then he's just excelled now all the way up to the national
But the one
team.
thing we've seen also is other players from the CPL have made the jump, like Caden Chung, Lucas McNaughton, both made the jump to TFC this year. Like, we're seeing the pathway a little bit more. And I was actually going to ask you, Oliver, because you've seen it in different countries as well. That pathway, is it as clear as some of the other countries that you've played in, or is there still another level that they need to get to make it a little bit clearer?
Work to be done in Canada.
I think it has to continue to grow. We need more teams. I think there are markets that could be explored, right? And a lot of quality, but it's there. Look at the examples, and if you look at the next cycle, a few names that like come up to my mind, like just off the bat, you have Vic that left Cavalry, Bim, Abzi, Mo Farsi, Ozazi, guys that are young, hungry, and have the quality to maybe be in this national team. And if it weren't for the CPL, maybe they wouldn't be playing.
And you think those guys that you mentioned there are all potentials to be involved in the national team for the next cycle?
I think they have to try, and they have to try and be. If they can succeed in Europe, then they'll be close. I think the next thing is for the Canadian national team, as the program is growing so much and they're being successful, you're going to have to be in Europe at some point, competing at the higher level to be able to get a call-up.
I think Herdman has even been pretty open with saying that he wants his players playing in Europe, just because that's the best competition and probably the most.
He says it the right way though. He doesn't say, "Oh, they need to be in Europe." He says, "I want them playing against top competition."
Yeah,
he says it the right way.
Well, I guess he has to say that, because then if he's saying we don't want our play, it's kind of like taking a shot at Canada's domestic league.
Well,
and he's
not
the
only
leader,
not only Canada's domestic league, but the North American domestic league,
Yeah,
which is the MLS, right?
Well, but right now MLS is still getting a pass because some of the big backline guys are MLS guys.
Oh, of course, and that's the thing.
Miller,
Well, the thing is
Johnson.
that we still need to earn the right to get our players over there. I think
In Europe,
right?
yeah.
And Oliver, I'm sure you can agree with me on that one. Is that until we've earned that right consistently, but people aren't going to think of Canada as like, okay, we got to go get the guys from Canada and bring them over yet. Right?
Yeah, but I also think the examples that the recent examples, especially Davies, after he went and he did really well, that opens doors, right?
For sure.
And so I think now clubs will be more comfortable in bringing in even while we're speaking about MLS, American players as well, right?
Yeah.
You got a lot of good young American players that are going there, and
that's got to play a factor.
the MLS has a strong financial support, so I think that might not be the like MLS shops in South America now, and they compete with European clubs.
Yeah.
What European clubs do sometimes is they have partnerships with clubs from the MLS. So they'll have a Colombian player, let's say, that's used as an example, and they'll send him there for a year so that he breaks that barrier of adapting. And then if he succeeds in the MLS, they're more comfortable of taking him to Europe. Right?
That makes sense. But an American, like young upcoming player, he's 19, doing very well in MLS, he's going to be cheaper than a young 19-year-old English player that's doing well.
Yeah, for sure. And
the English player is probably $50 million. You can maybe get the American or Canadian player for $1 million, even
sure.
less.
15
sometimes.
to 20.
Yeah.
Like if they're as good as you're saying, right? That's my point. Yeah.
Davies is. Imagine how much Davies would have cost if he had that kind of
Of
pop
course.
off in Europe.
Of
His
course.
price would have been at least doubled.
for sure.
Of course.
I want to kind of get into. It's tough. There's a few things I want to touch on here, but top moments from your career on the pitch, but also off the pitch. I mean, we've gotten to know each other off the pitch. We've made a lot of good memories, especially with that 2019 Cavs. You think about the players that we had, in our group there, and I would say we're friends. We have a group chat that's called the Champions League. That still pops off every now and then. It includes Dominic Malanga, Julian Boucher, Maro.
What about that video, that new Dominic Malanga video?
Oh, Nick, there's this 16-year-old female basketball player. I think she's 6'7", 6'8", and she's dunking.
Oh, yeah.
And her name is Dominique Malanga. So we sent in our group chat last night. Malanga, like, is there like blood here? Like, are you guys relatives or whatever? He's gonna take credit for it. He's probably gonna say, "Oh, that's my cousin."
Built different.
Built different, yeah. But Malanga's had a great story now, becoming working into the female basketball league out there. But top moments off the pitch, on the pitch.
Yeah,
Start with on.
Yeah, on the pitch, I think the most special is the debut, the first game as a professional. I'll never forget that one.
Where was that?
It was in Portugal in a qualifying Europa League game. I was 18, so it was special for me at the time. When I look back now, I realize that it's a pretty cool achievement. When you're living it, you just think it's normal.
Were you able
right?
to kind of take that in? Because now here I am, a Canadian, has never played in Europe and stuff. I think of, oh my God, a Europa League game. It's such a big deal. Were you able to think that, or you just thought it was natural because that was kind of the expectations you had for your career?
Yeah, when you're living it, you always want to achieve more, and I thought, like, maybe it's the first step, like, to get. But then you also, as time passes, you see how hard it is, and you're there day to day with all those really good players, and the competition is really strong, and but it was good. And then I was there for 2 years at the first team, so I had the chance to play some cool, important matches. Nice big stadiums against the bigger clubs in Portugal. And then I had a really special year in 2015 in Ottawa. We had a good locker room as well. So out of that group, I still speak to many of the guys, and many of them are doing well. Even in the coaching side, you have Sinisa Ubiparapovic. He's D1 in the U.S. college coach. Yeah. Tommy Heineman is also getting his coaches. Richie Ryan, who just retired as well, and great lad. Mauro. So Julian de Guzman. All those guys.
Jared St. Thomas.
No, Jared wasn't there. But yeah, so all those, and I was young at the time. I was still young, so these older players inspired me as well. So after that, 2019 Cavs, really special year, and that hurts me the most that we didn't win it all that season, because I think we deserved it, and because of the group that we had. I mean, we had this cool mix of the young guys and the older guys, and everyone a bit different. But when it was time to have fun, we had fun, and when it was time to work, we worked hard.
Yeah, I would have to say some of my favorite, off the pitch memories, and I asked you that as well, is those times with Cavs. But I want to ask you what your favorite off the pitch memory is. And for me, an example is my second year in Australia. I was with a team. And then we did a players trip at the end of the season, and all the guys, we got together. We stayed at Byron Bay on the beach, and 2-3 days together, hanging out every single day. I felt like I wish we did that at the beginning of the season, because at the end of that year, I felt so much closer to those guys, and I was like, what a nice moment that was, and traveling, living in Australia, meeting all these people. That was one of my favorite off-the-pitch memories that I've had in my career. Do you have a moment like that kind of dawns on you and you always remember?
That whole year was...
The 2019
year.
Yeah,
it was just fun.
Yeah.
Right? We had great moments together, and I think the best moment didn't come. We were going to go to Arizona, and we ended up not going.
No. But we went to Banff.
Yeah, the ear infection.
Oh, I know. Yeah, I don't even want to get into that.
That's a story for another day,
Yeah.
I feel like.
But yeah, no, 2019 was a good year.
Yeah, I mean, it was an interesting season to watch as a fan, for sure. We're going to take another break. Oliver, you're sticking on with us. On the other side, CPL Awards. They keep announcing more finalists. We got to talk about them, get both of your opinions as players. I'll give my opinion as well, who should win. And Montreal's, kind of in a playoff spot. We probably should talk about that at some point, Niko. I don't know about you.
No, we have to.
Busy show. I said it was packed off the top. I wasn't kidding.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll take a quick break. When we come back, CPL Awards right here on Footy First.
First up, with Karolnik and Koliakovo, weekday mornings 6 till 10 on TSN 1050.
You ain't first, you're last.
Did you catch gameplay?
Tom Brady, when you are great, you deserve special treatment, 100%, and especially when you're an older veteran. However, when he misses 10, 11 days during training camp, and we know it's for personal reasons, and this show hasn't ripped Brady for that, but when you do that, and now you get every Wednesday off, and then you flew and were away from the team so you could be at Bob Kraft's wedding, and you missed the walkthrough because, again, you were at Bob Kraft's wedding, it just feels like Tom Brady's getting a little extra special treatment, and I would not be surprised if members of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going, listen, both things can be true. You're the greatest of all time, but wow, are you pushing it to the limits this year, Brady?
And it also doesn't look good when the guy that you're going to the wedding of is the owner of another NFL team. That doesn't look... If it was your own NFL team, that's one thing.
Yeah.
Gameplay, weekday afternoons from 2 till 4 on TSN 1050.
I want winners.
Did you hear? Wendy's Dave Single is now just $4. This juicy gossip is hot off the press, like our fresh, never frozen Canadian beef. The Dave Single is just $4 until November 6th at participating Wendy's. Taxes extra.
Callum, from right now until October 31st, we're going to sell 3/4 carat created diamonds for just $1,999.
A fantastic price.
Our diamond buyers just returned with some of the most beautiful 3/4 carat diamonds I've ever seen.
Callum, without you, none of these wonderful things would be happening at Spence Diamonds.
Thank you, Michael.
Buy 2 of these big diamonds and have 1.5 carat total weight diamond stud earrings for less than $4,000.
Wow! Spence in Vaughan, Scarborough, and Mississauga.
A global power in rugby.
Another super Canadian score.
Set to chase the ultimate prize.
Totally dominant.
Rugby Women's World Cup, October 7th to November 12th. Watch or stream only on TSN.
This Movember, here's to the straggly mustaches, the lopsided ones, The oddly sexy ones. The itchy, patchy, raggedy ones. The peach fuzz ones. The hey, I look good with this ones. The scruffy ones. The black, blonde, red, and gray ones. The ones grown by Dad. The ones grown for Dad. They all raise awareness, raise funds, start conversations, and save lives. Because whatever you grow will save a bro. Sign up now at Movember.com.
Share more with family with CIBC Global Money Transfer. We know achieving your goals in Canada happened with the support of family. With CIBC Global Money Transfer, we have zero transfer fees, so more of your money goes to thanking those who matter most. Share more in over 120 countries, and now get up to $300 back on your first transfer with promo code GMTEvent. It's our way to share too. For details, go to CIBC.com/GMTEvent. Conditions and CIBC foreign exchange rates apply.
Other internets go down. Introducing ComWave Always Connected Business Internet. Over 70% of businesses experience an unplanned internet outage during the year. It's important to have an internet plan that keeps you always connected. An outage can have a severe impact to your business. No internet, no phone calls, no use of debit machines, and no sales. Call ComWave Business today and get the always connected internet with 100% uptime. And never let an outage impact your business. Call 1-866-988-8881. That's 1-866-988-8881.
Old Man Winter here. When it comes to driving, I know we don't always get along with all my snow, slush, and ice. But when you visit the experts at Toyota Parts and Service, you'll go from, oh no, to let it snow!
With premium winter tires, batteries, wipers, and more, your Toyota Parts and Service experts have everything you need to drive confidently this winter. Visit shoptoyota.ca or contact your Ontario Toyota dealer to book an appointment. Details make the difference.
It's a Week 7 NFL Sunday tripleheader. Hey! Packers, Commanders, Chiefs, Niners, Steelers, Dolphins. Beginning at 1 on TSN 1050. The NFL lives here. Now back to the Footy First podcast on TSN 1050. Champions live here.
Welcome back to Footy First. Nick McVicker, Niko Giantsopoulos, and special guest host Oliver Minatel. And guys, this week, more of the CPL Awards finalists have been announced. And I feel like we have to get into them just because we did it last week. We got to keep it going, Niko, right?
No, of course. No problem with that.
So let's go. We'll go Coach of the Year, Defender of the Year, and then Player of the Year. Because there's more in the Player of the Year category. Because
I think this is like the CPL Player of the Year nominations,
not
the
Players Player of the Year. Yeah,
Player of the Year.
Yeah, because that came
Player
out. That was last week, wasn't it?
Yep, that came out. Well, no, that didn't. It didn't come out. They didn't come out with the Players Player. We just know that's an award that's going to be awarded this year. They haven't put out nominations.
Okay.
But all the players have voted on it, and we had all the boys in here from New York.
That's true.
So that's why we spoke about that. But this is the CPL.
These are the
Player
CPL
of the
awards,
year.
obviously.
But you
yes.
said you want to start
Let's start with
Year?
Coach of the Year, yes. And the three finalists, or the final three, I should say. They're not finalists. All the coaches are technically finalists, but it's neither here nor there. They're nominees. The final three are Carlos Gonzalez from Ottawa, who obviously they had an incredible year in his first year at the helm. James Merriman from Pacific, another first-year head coach, but he's been around the team for a while.
And Bobby Smirniotis.
From Forge. Obviously, he's done incredible things with that.
Bobby's nominated.
They're the final three.
Sorry.
They're the final three, yes. So,
what are your thoughts on these three?
I mean, if I'm looking at it, it's hard not to give it to Gonzalez. Just because this guy comes in, takes over a last-place team, and makes them first place in the regular season. Now, I know there's a lot of different factors in there. They brought in a lot of players. But it's hard to not give him the Coach of the Year award if he takes a last-place team in his first season to first place in the league, right?
It makes sense. The thing that's so impressive about Ottawa, it's like, I agree. I think Gonzalez is going to win it, the Ottawa coach. But it's almost like, as well, general manager of the year, because the way they rebuilt that team has been impressive. It's crazy to think that Bobby, fourth year, I think he's been nominated every single year, and probably
he's been at least three. I know for sure. I can't remember if he was all four.
I think this is his fourth, and it's crazy that he still will not probably win this award.
Yeah, I think he's due one.
For sure.
I mean, he's won the league twice, second place once. So what else do they want him to do to give him the award?
But you agree he's probably not going to win it
But
this year?
here's the thing.
I'd give it to him.
You'd give it to him?
Yeah, I'd give it to Bobby.
Here's the one thing about this award. It's a regular season award.
Yeah.
And how many times have Forge finished at the top?
But not this year. Oh, well, that's what I think. I think in...
They only finished at the top once, didn't
if
they?
if that's the case, then we'll just give it to the regular season champion every year, and you don't even need
Isn't that how this award has gone? No.
No, it hasn't. But
Tommy
no,
won
I was
it
just
the
saying.
first year,
like,
and then Stephen Hart won it the second year, but that was the bubble year.
Second bubble year, Tommy finished first again, right? Regular season. And then last year, Forge finished first regular season. And
but Paul won it.
Paul Maduka won it.
Because he won the playoffs. So
Yeah.
I don't know what the
criteria
is, but I think what Bobby's done at Forge and alongside with what Tommy has been doing at Cavalry, both of them 4 years in a row playoffs. So if I had to say, I'd say Tommy and Bobby would be in the top 3 again this year, and I'd give it to Bobby.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Defender of the year. Your teammate Dominic Zator is up for the final 3, along with Amir Didik and Alexander Achionoti Janssen. I'm going to screw that name up as many times as possible, but I think I did a pretty good job with that.
Not bad. I still
from
can't say it.
Forge. So 3 top quality defenders. Niko, where are you going with this one?
This one's a tough one. I would, and I think the general public, I might be different on this because I've spoken to other players, and a lot of them have Janssen in their player of the year. And rightfully so, everyone's up to their opinion. I think that it's between Didic and Zatz for the defender of the year. I'm biased. I've played with Zatz my entire CPL career. He's been on my team, and I know how reliable he is. He's available for every single game. He's very strong defensively. He's just a very consistent presence, and a lot of the times he hits a very high performance, high ratings of a good performance as a defender. However, I think Didic going up against him, I think he's a menace. When I want to build a defender on FIFA, I'm building him with the stats of Didic. Big, strong, good in the air, but he's still very technical, can pin a long ball. So for me, those are who I think it's a 2-horse race in this. Personally, I think, it's so tough to say. I don't know.
Give your pick. Let's go.
I think it's going to be Didic, only for the reason, I think that's what the league's going to give, for the reason of him making the playoffs, his club making the playoffs.
I see it a bit differently. I think it's between Zatz and I'll call him Alexander, so it's easier.
Smart.
And then player by player, I'll be honest, I would pick Zatz, but I have to respect the fact that Alexander did well with his team and they have a chance to win it, and I think that counts.
Yeah.
And now he's nominated for Player of the Year.
But then I think it's a bit too much, but we'll get into it next.
But I think but for that reason, it's then he must win Defender of the Year if he's nominated for Player of the Year.
Well, that's what I'm thinking. I mean, AAJ had a great season with Forge, and I'm using that because it's a lot easier. AAJ.
Yeah. And he plays as a holding mid when needed, which I think is his best position as a 6.
Mm-hmm.
Agreed.
But he had to step in as a center back because they had so many problems with injuries, right? So I think he deserves it.
Yeah. I'm actually going with Zatz. So I think we all have different answers in that category, but I'm going with Zatz just because of what he did for the York backline this year. Yeah. Player of the Year, I mentioned there's 5. AAJ is up for it. Aparicio, Ollie Bassett, Sean Rea, and Balu Tabla are also nominated for the award. Quickly, gentlemen.
Yeah.
We'll start with you, Ollie. Who's your pick?
I'd say Ollie Bassett because of the impact that he's had, but I'll say that the player that's missing in there, in my opinion, is Becker. If Forge is one of the better teams, in my opinion, he's the best player. So he has to be in there if it's 4, 5, 10 years in a row. If it's him, it's him.
Yeah, and I agree with that. Well, I think Bassett should win this award. but I was surprised to see Becker's name off the list. And when we spoke about player, he was my vote. He was in my top 3.
Yeah. I'll make it a unanimous one. Ollie Bassett should win this award just based on the season that he had.
He's been on Team of the Week like 12 times, I think.
Yeah,
he's the captain of the CPL Team of the Week.
The next guy that I would have would be Aparicio, just for his impact on the club team more than anything. So, all right, one last break. On the other side, a little MLS playoff talk right here on Footy First.
Overdrive. Listen to the Footy First Show with Nick McVicker and Niko Giantsopoulos. TSN 1050's all-soccer podcast with a focus on Canadian soccer. Every Saturday from 10 till 11 a.m. on TSN 1050, home of the 2022 World Cup. Now back to the Footy First podcast on TSN 1050. Champions live here.
Welcome back to Footy First here on TSN 1050. Nick McVicker, Niko Giantsopoulos, and Oliver Minatel in studio today. Boys, we're going to keep it short. We're going to keep it sweet. Montreal in an MLS semifinal once again. They play New York City FC this weekend, coming off of a huge, I guess you call it quarterfinal win, where the Canadians had a big impact. Kone with a absolutely gorgeous goal.
Yep.
The back line, Miller, Johnston, and Waterman all played incredible. Do you think this team is destined for an Eastern Conference Final appearance, Niko?
They got a very tough test against New York City FC. I watched the New York City game, and they won 3-0. Very strong performance, dominated, and they're the reigning champs. So respect to them. I think Montreal, to make it to the MLS final, has 2 very tough games. They got to play at New York City, and then after that, waiting for them in the Eastern Conference Finals is Philadelphia, who, with a very good Andre Blake right now, he's very in form, and they're going to be a very tough team to beat. Very. How many times can I say that?
Say it one more time. Let's see.
Very tough.
Very tough. Ollie, you have any thoughts about those games?
Yeah, I think very difficult game for Montreal, but I'm going to cheer for them more than really going to give my professional opinion, because I haven't seen a ton of them this season, but especially for Joel being there. I think it's huge, and for Canadian football, it would be great to see.
For sure. And you mentioned Philly is waiting for whoever wins this game in the Eastern Conference Final. They picked up a 1-0 victory over Cincinnati this past week.
Which isn't the strongest result, but at playoffs it doesn't matter.
Cincinnati's been playing really well, though, so I'm not really shocked by that being a tight game.
Yeah, they turned it up the second half of the season.
Also, we'd be remiss if we didn't mention this quickly. Women's World Cup draw was held this morning. Canada ends up in a group with host nation Australia, as well as Nigeria and the Republic of Ireland. We'll break it down a little bit more next week when we have a little bit more time. Tough group. Well, interesting group.
Yeah.
We'll get into it next week. Yeah. We got lots to go. Oliver, really appreciate you joining us today, man. Good luck with everything moving forward. And we will definitely have you back on soon. That'll do it for us here at Footy First. Make sure you check us out on your favorite podcast site. And check our social medias, Footy First Show, Instagram, and Twitter as well. We will see you next weekend.